Good morning, everyone. I'm Greg, and we hosting this session of Soul School Network for April the 27th, 2025. Welcome, everyone. And we also welcome those later on YouTube. Today, we have a special presentation that is with a focus on Indigenous spirituality and with the viewpoint of the Amikwa Nation. And I'll get a little more into that as we go and introduce our guest or guests. First of all, though, we're going to do a grounding meditation, as we always do at the beginning of these sessions. And this will feature Koryanka, who is one of the facilitators for the Soul School Network. So I'm going to share that now.
It's not sharing, Greg.
Or sit in a comfortable position.
We don't see anything, Greg.
To start, you might close your eyes.
Nothing at all, Sue?
I don't see anything, and I can barely hear anything.
I'm sharing, but stop the
You know what,
share.
Greg? Oh,
Yeah,
okay, you
this-
got it now. Now we've got it.
Okay, hang on, I'll
We
This is
just
a
reshare.
bit
had
of
it. Try again.
A little more editing to do, but let's jump back into that.
Or there's lots of content this morning if you feel you want to skip the grounding meditation, Greg. It's up to you.
Sure, I'll give it one more try and we'll see what happens. Just let me know. Let me.
Lie down or sit in a comfortable position. To start, you might close your eyes if that feels good. Take 3 deep, relaxing breaths. In through the nose, out through the mouth. In through the nose, out through the mouth. One more time. In through the nose, out through the mouth. We'll start scanning our bodies for any tension there might be. Starting at the head. We'll do this together. We'll just observe without making any meaning out of it. Scan the crown of your head, the back of your head, your face and neck, your shoulders, one arm and then the other, all the way down to your hands. Now your back, from the neck all the way down to the final bone of the spine. You can focus your attention now on your chest and your abdomen. Are there any sensations so far? Any muscle tension? Just observe it for now. Continue with your right leg and foot and your left leg and foot. Wherever you found tension, let it go gently by visualizing that it is a white cloud that slides down your body all the way to your feet, leaving your body through the soles of the feet. Perhaps there will be many clouds of tension leaving your body. That's great. You're letting them go. You can feel good about it. Once tension is out of your body, it will be gone and transformed into life-giving energy. Let's take a deep, relaxing breath. In through the nose, out through the mouth. Let it feel good. You can stretch your body and make sure you are comfortable wherever you are. You are a beloved child of God and the earth, deeply connected to her. Notice how your feet are planted on the ground, either physically or energetically at all times. Feeling the earth with the soles of your feet. Feel how your energy grows and extends itself from the soles of your feet towards Mother Earth. You are growing energetic roots that go into the moist, rich soil under your feet, uniting with the Mother, receiving nourishment and love from her. The more your roots extend and go deeper and deeper into the earth, the more you feel deeply grounded and held in love by Mother Earth. Stay present in this moment. You can feel it. Remain grounded and present in this moment. Grounded and present. Grounded and present. You can gently go back to your breathing. In through the nose, out through the mouth. In through the nose, out through the mouth. And one more time. Now you can slowly open your eyes when it feels good to you, and move your body slowly as you come back. Enjoy a beautiful day.
Thank you so much, Koryanka, on a recording of her. She was not able to join us today, but it's always nice to have her here with us. Today, our live session will, I may turn my video on and off, by the way, just because of the bandwidth issue. And so don't mind that. Our live session today will focus on the story of the Amikwa people, their fight for legal recognition and more. It goes well beyond that. The world, of course, is waking up to the fact that the Indigenous who have inhabited much of this planet really hold many of the answers to the challenges we face, climate change, extinction of entire species of animals, insects, plants, and in many cases, the things that support and sustain the cycle of life. If you spend even a little bit of time studying the Indigenous peoples. You'll discover they're the caretakers of our living world over thousands of years, maybe more. They've developed skills to be masters of sustainability. They really view the resources on our earth as something to preserve for the next generation and the next. In some cases, they look 7 generations and beyond. The Amikwa have been the caretakers of a vast territory in North America. Their knowledge and also spiritual traditions really helped to preserve much of the continent. And that, of course, represented a threat to the European settlers, the nations that crossed the Atlantic Ocean and laid claim to the continent for really the purposes of profit. Today, we have 2 guests. I'm not sure if one will be joining us, but they are both leaders of the Amikwa Nation. We'll be joined by Stacy Amikwabi, and you'll notice the name Amikwa Nation. Stacy is now the appointed chief of the Amikwa Nipissing Nation. Also with us, and he's here now, Corey Pierce. He's the communications director for the Amikwa Nation, but also a descendant of countless generations of the Amikwa Nipissing people. So we've invited them to share their people's story, to help us understand the spiritual connection that's central to their fight, and really what they want to preserve. Afterwards, we'll, of course, open things up for questions. And we'll try to keep the recorded portion of our meeting to 90 minutes or so. After that, you're welcome to stay on with Chief Amikwabi and Corey Pierce if you want to delve into deeper questions. They were both with us a couple of months ago, and many people really wanted to spend more time with them, so you're welcome to do that. And there's also an opportunity, I think, Corey will explain, to become an ally of the nation, and that may be a way to contribute to
kind of agreed with him. It was kind of
Amikwa.
that you would agree with everyone else and
I've got someone talking about
never stick up. Never ever do.
let's
I believe that's Jackie, but Stacy's on there now.
Oh, perfect. Okay, welcome, Chief Amikwabi. Glad you're here with us, Stacy. So I'm going to hand things over. If you want to start with Chief Amikwabi, that's fine. Or Corey, you can go ahead. But
I got an introduction here, Greg, and I'm ready to fly there. Stacy's probably still getting a few things together.
okay.
But I have lots of content here, and Stacy's really good at riffing off this stuff. We have lots of maps and documents that we can share. But I really just wanted to welcome everyone here, and I noticed too we have a few of our members also signing on, and we're also here with Grand Chief Wabiskumakwa. He's on here too. Chief Zane Bell. And we're also blessed with some of our Choctaw friends from south of the border. I know you guys are also not quite as south as you guys, but Miko Wendy Bond is also on here as well. And so I just wanted to welcome everybody. And today is a sacred day, April 27th. It's the birthday of our advisor, our friend, and our brother. We affectionately call him Mr. S because it just sounds cool, but Michael Swinwood. And today, as if by design, Ojikwanong, the morning star, is closer to Earth than it has been for some time. So Venus, the morning star, shining over the Great Mother, touching the land, the waters, and all of us with its light. It's no coincidence here, because Michael was close, very close, with grandfather William Commanda, who is Mishumi Ojikwanong, and he's the carrier of the 7 Fires Prophecy Belt, the Jay Treaty Belt, and also the 1701 Great Peace of Montreal Belt. So today, on Michael's birthday, the spirit of grandfather Commanda is also very close to us too. So the morning star he carried in his name now sits in the sky as a reminder. So if you're down in the Sacred Valley there, I highly suggest, get up 4:30, between 4:30 and 5, and just maybe bring some tobacco out with you. Bring out something and send a prayer. And, Ojekwanong's there. He's there to remind us that we're not alone. We're not forgotten. Our sacred Megis, our sacred shell, it still shines. The fire still burns. And the choice that grandfather spoke of, and the one that Michael continues to walk, is before us. And today we gather not just to tell stories, but to walk the path laid out for us through prophecy, memory, and purpose. And so we begin. So I felt it would be appropriate. It's the only video I could find of Grandfather Commanda. Now the audio's, it's not bad, and there is subtitles in it, but he was an elder at this time, and his voice wasn't as strong, but it still tells out the whole story, and he has the belt with him. So I sent that over into the chat box, Greg.
Yeah.
Hope my audio's okay, but if you wanted to play that video, we could start with that.
Absolutely, that sounds good. I just want to mention that Grandfather Commanda was, of course, one of Michael's spiritual advisors. And so Michael, of course, is a facilitator for Soul School Network. So there's a really great connection with us and with Grandfather Commanda. I'll play the video here, and we'll hope that the audio sounds good. Just have to click on the link. Give me a moment here. Okay, here we are. Find you all on my meeting.
Grandfather sends me. What we on kinegi over there we on.
Grandfather Commanda, keeper of the sacred wampum bell, bearing the message of the 75 prophecies, calls upon the people of the earth to walk, to heal, to forgive. As far as the prophecies go, well, it's nothing complicated. Simple. What we already know. Like the 8th kind of fire. Like
thank you, great creator.
Time divides into ages. 7 fires, say the sages. Humanity is standing at a crossroad. In the time of the 7th fire, a new people will emerge.
To share with you the sacred message.
Us. Humanity is standing at a crossroad. Grandfather sends me on a walk.
We are here.
And as we emerge, all races
due
must
to the
unite.
urgency of the cry of our Mother
At
Earth
one crucial moment,
and the urgency
in the time of the 7th fire,
of our concern
people of
for all
like
forms of
mind,
life,
family,
physical
and into
and
the
spiritual.
flame of the 8th and fire.
We have agreed to present our wampum belts, which are a sacred link to the spiritual and physical forces, which contain the forces and knowledge of life from the past to the present to the future. They come to us from other dimensions. What we are going to explain to you through these wampum belts is what it is, where it comes from, why it is sacred, what it reveals to us of the future, the warning it contains, why we have a choice for the future, how the answers are there, but only if we listen and join again with the spiritual world. Otherwise, the balance of the earth will shift her axis and life will be gravely destroyed and harmed by this process. This is why the healing is essential.
This belt was made before Vikings ever came to North America. As it mentions, when the white race should be here. Something happened around here. These two diamonds already was in 1800 had broken off here because the Beotuk used to live in Newfoundland and the northeastern coast of North America. They're not there no more. Adirondacks, Vermont area, they're not there no more. In 1900, they already was exterminated by war. 7 prophets came to Anishinaabe. They came at a time when the people were living a full and peaceful life on the northeastern coast of North America. These prophets left the people with 7 predictions of what the future would bring. Each of the prophecies was called a fire, and each fire referred to a particular era of time that would come in the future. The teaching of the 7 prophets are now called 7 fires. The first prophet said to the people, in the time of the first fire, the Anishinaabe nation will rise up and follow the sacred shroud of the Midwayman Lodge. The Midwayman Lodge will serve as a rallying point for the people, and its traditional ways will be source of much strength. The sacred Magus will lead the way to the chosen ground of Anishinaabe. You are to look for a turtle-shaped island that is linked to the purification of the earth. You will find such an island at the beginning and the end of your journey. There will be 7 stopping places along the way. You will know the chosen ground has been reached when you come to a land where food and water. If you do not move, you will be destroyed. The second prophet told the people, you will know the second fire, because at this time the nation will be camped by a large body of water. In this time, the direction of the sacred shell will be lost. The Midwayman will be diminished in strength. A boy will be born to point the way back to the traditional ways. He will show the direction of the stepping stones to the future of the Anishinaabe people. The third prophet said to the people, the third fire, the Anishinaabe will be defined, will be find a path to their chosen ground, a land in the west, to which they must find to move their families. There will be land where food grows on water. Fourth prophet was originally given by the people by 2 prophets. They come as one. they told the coming of the light-skinned race. One of the prophets said, "You will know the future of our people by the face the light-skinned race wears. If they come wearing the face of brotherhood, there will come a time of wonderful changes for generations to come. It will bring new knowledge and articles that can be joined with the knowledge of this country. In this way, the two nations will join to make a mighty nation. This new nation will be joined by two more, so that four will form a mighty nation of all. You will know the face of the brotherhood if the light-skinned race comes carrying no weapon. If they come bearing only their knowledge and a handshake." The other prophet said, "Beware if the light-skinned race comes wearing the face of death. You must be careful because the face of brotherhood and the face of death look very much alike. If they come carrying a weapon, beware. If they come in suffering, they could fool you. Their heart may be filled with greed for the riches of this land. If they are indeed your brothers, let them prove it. Do not accept them in total trust. You shall know that the face they wear is one of death. If the rivers run with poison, and the fish become unfit to eat, you shall know them by these many things." The fifth prophet said, "In the time of the fifth fire, there will come a time of great struggle that grip the life of all native people. At the warning of this fire, there will come among the people one who holds a promise of great joy and salvation. If the people accept this promise of a new way and abandon the old teaching, then the struggle of the fifth fire will be with the people for many generations. The people that come will be proved to be a false prophet. All those who accept this promise will cause the near destruction of the people." The prophet of the sixth fire said, "In the time of the sixth fire, it will be evident that the promise of the fifth fire came in a false way. Those deceived by the promise will take their children away from the teachings of the elders. Grandsons and granddaughters will turn against the elders. In this way, the elders will lose their reason for living. They will lose their purpose in life. At this time, a new sickness will come among the people. The balance of many people will be disturbed. The cup of life will almost be filled. The cup of life will almost become the cup of grief." At this time of these predictions, many people scoffed at the prophets. They then had a medicine to keep away sickness. They were then healthy and happy as a people. They were the people who chose to stay behind in the great migration of the Anishinaabe. These people were the first to have contact with the light-skinned race. They would suffer most. When the fifth prophet came to pass, a great struggle did indeed grip the lives of all native people. The light-skinned race will launch a military attack on the Indian people throughout the country. aim at taking away their land and their independence as a free and sovereign people. It is now felt that the false promise that came at the end of the fifth fire was the material and riches came to the end, embodied in the way of life of light-skinned race. Those who abandoned ancient ways and accepted the new promise were a big factor in causing near destruction of native people of this land. When the sixth fire came to be, the words of the prophet rang out, through the children were taken away from the teaching of the elders. The boarding schools era, civilizing Indian children, had begun. The Indian language and religion were taken from the children. The people started dying at an early age. They had lost their will to live and their purpose in living. In this confusing time of the sixth fire, it is said that a group of visionaries came along Anishinaabe. They gathered all the priests of the Midwayman Lodge. They told the priests that the Midwayman way was in danger of being destroyed. They gathered all sacred bundles. They gathered all the scrolls that recorded the ceremonies. All these things were placed in an all-wood log from an ironwood tree. Men were lowered over a cliff by ropes. They dug a hole in the cliff and buried the log where no one could find it. Thus the teaching of the elders were hidden out of sight, but not out of the memory. It is said that when the time came, the Indian could practice their religion without fear. That little boy would dream where the ironwood logs were buried, full of sacred bundles, and scrolls were buried. He would lead to the people, to the place. The seventh prophet came to the people long ago, was said to be different from the other prophets. He was young and had strange light in his eyes. He said, in the time of the seventh fire, new people will emerge. They will retrace their steps to find that was left by the trail. Their steps will take them to the elders, who they will ask to guide them on their journey. But many of the elders will have fallen asleep. They will awaken to this new time with nothing to offer. Some of the elders will be awakened this new time with nothing to offer. Some of the elders will be silenced out of fear. Some of the elders will be silenced because no one will ask anything of them. The new people will have to be careful in how they will approach the elders. The task of the new people will not be easy.
Fire, new people will emerge.
To share with you the sacred message.
Humanity is standing at a crossroad. Grandfather.
Okay, welcome back. We wanted to just share that portion of the video. The link is in the chat, so you can watch the entire thing. But what an amazing overview. I'd never seen that, of the seven fires prophecy and some of the meaning of it. has such a connection to what's happening today with the Amikwa people and your group, the nation, and how you're really working to restore what your what the meaning of is of the Amikwa people. So Corey, please take things away and share what you want to. That gave us a really good overview of the connection with the spirituality. And of course, we'll hear from Chief Amikwabi as well.
Certainly. Thank you very much, Miigwech. And, I just wanted to share as well this book here that you can see in front of you. It's called the Mishomi book by Edward Benton Benai. And it's available. I think you can purchase it online in a few places. But it has a good breakdown of the Seven Fires prophecy as well as a lot of other traditional stories as well. Some people say it's more like a children's book, but it has everything in there, and it's laid out very well. So I just wanted to go through, I think, what this means to the Amikwa people and to myself, as I've observed over the years. I've been surrounded by people a lot smarter, a lot more knowledgeable, and far more wiser than I am. And I've went there and I've offered tobacco and I listened. And this is kind of what I've come out of it. But if you imagine living in a world, life is full, it's vibrant, it's abundant, the rivers are clean, the food is plentiful, the people are strong. Everything around you says, stay here, be comfortable. But deep inside, there's this stirring, and it's a whisper that says, move, or you'll perish. And this was the reality for the ancestors of the Anishinaabe people when the first fire was lit, because the prophets came forward with a warning and a promise, a sacred shell, gleaming, powerful, radiant, would guide the people westward to a new homeland, a place of destiny, a turtle-shaped island, a land where food grows on water, which is Menominee, wild rice, and 7 stopping places would mark the journey. If they followed the signs, they would live. If they stayed rooted in old comforts, if they clung to what was easy, they would be destroyed. And this isn't just mythology; it's memory, because today even archaeology confirms something very powerful, and that's the ancient shell mounds. These massive sacred sites, and they're all scattered along the East Coast from Maine to Nova Scotia. These were thriving communities, deeply connected to the shell, the water, the life of the coast. But the world was changing. The oceans were rising. The land was shifting. And survival meant one thing. It just meant, move or vanish. And the sacred shell wasn't just a symbol. It was a map. It was a beacon calling the people to trust something deeper than comfort, something stronger even than fear. And where were they going? They were heading towards a miracle, a place where food grows on water. And it's not a metaphor, a real promise, wild rice, Menominee, and growing not from the soil, but floating delicately on the skin of lakes and wetlands. So food that depends on clean water, careful stewardship, and a deep respect. So this was not just a search for survival. It was a journey towards a covenant with life itself. And from that movement, from that obedience to spirit over comfort, nations like the Amikwa were born, the Beaver Nation, the engineers of the waterways, the keepers of balance between the land and water, a people who embody what it means to adapt, to move, and to build life anew without destroying the earth beneath their feet. So the first fire still speaks, maybe louder now than ever. It asks each of us a brutal and honest question. Will you cling to decaying comforts even as the ground crumbles beneath you? Or will you move spiritually, emotionally, maybe even physically towards a way of life that actually honors the future? And the shell, the midges. It still gleams on water, sacred shell stalls, and it or collapse. And the second fire, lost guidance and hope reborn. And the second prophet who came with another message in the time of the second fire, the nation would lose its way. The sacred shell, the guiding force of tradition, would be forgotten, and the Mediwewan Lodge would weaken. Confusion would take hold. But the prophet also left a glimmer of hope that a child would be born, a light would return, and he would point the way back to the old ways and show the stepping stones towards the future. So if you picture this, you've made the move, you followed the call of the sacred shell, you survived the first wave of chaos, you found new land, new life, and yet something begins to slip. Over time, the clarity fades. The memory of why you moved in the first place weakens. The ceremonies grow quieter. The stories aren't told as often around the fire. And the sacred shell that was once blazing in your mind's eye, it becomes a rumor, a symbol that's half understood. And this is the second fire. It's what happens to every people, every nation, every individual at some point. You forget. You lose touch with the roots that held you strong. You chase distractions. You trade depth for comfort. You mistake survival for living. And history shows it. As the Anishinaabe moved inland, different pressures set in. Territorial wars, the slow creep of European contact, shifts in the environment. Focus turned from the collective ceremony towards day-to-day survival. And, the Meiji shell, once the compass was fading from view. But the prophecy didn't end in despair because it promised the rebirth, a child, a new light, a fresh voice rising among the people. And in every generation, even in times of forgetting, there are always a few, often the young, who ask the right questions. Who are we really? Why do we live this way? Where did we lose that thread? And the Amikwa, too, lived through this forgetting and through the rediscovery as well. Even as colonial systems later pushed hard to bury the Indigenous ways, even as ceremonies were outlawed, languages criminalized, there was always a spark, a very small, stubborn flame just refusing to die out. And today, we live again in the shadow of the second fire. A modern society, flooded with noise and distraction, constantly tempts us to forget who we are and where we come from. But the prophecy reminds us hope isn't lost. It's born again and again in the youth who refuse to believe the old ways are dead, in the people who ask, what did we leave behind? How do we return? So the real stepping stones to the future aren't found in technology, in wealth, or in status. They're found by remembering, by recovering what was buried, ignored, and almost lost. So the second fire teaches us this truth. Losing your way is not the end. It's the beginning of finding your way back. The third prophet, when he came with that message of urgency, that they would finally reach their true homeland. They would know it because they would find a place where food grows on water, as I've said. Only there would the people live again and find balance with the earth. So if you could imagine this, okay, your generations have passed. Your people have moved through uncertainty, loss, and confusion. The old ways are flickering, the sacred shell almost forgotten, but suddenly there it is, the sign. And where the land where water itself feeds you, where wild rice waves in the wetlands like a living spirit, where the rivers don't just carry you forward, they feed you, shelter you, guide you. This wasn't just a good place to live. It was a covenant made visible. The land itself was speaking. If you live with respect, I will sustain you. If you live with greed, you will perish. And the Anishinaabe had reached a place where survival wasn't about conquering the land. It was about listening to it. And this is where the Amikwa story truly begins to take root. The nation of the beaver, a people shaped not by walls or cities or conquest, but by the sacred, delicate balance between land and water. The Amikwa didn't just occupy the lands, they wove themselves into them. They, engineering rivers, nurturing those wetlands, moving with the seasons, always remembering that life depends on relationship and not ownership. Finding the land where food grows on water wasn't the end of the journey. It was the beginning of the sacred duty. And now, if you think about where we are today, most people live like conquerors on the earth, tearing up what we can't control, damming what flows too freely, taking what we want without thinking about tomorrow. We've forgotten the covenant. And the third fire reminds us home isn't something you own, home is something you earn by how you live. And the real chosen ground isn't about real estate, it's about relationship to the land, to the water, and to each other. So the third fire asks, have you found the place where your life feeds life? Or are you still lost, taking more than you give back? And the Amikwa remembered, the land remembered, and maybe, just maybe, it's not too late for all of us to remember that too. The fourth prophet, this is very significant. It came with a warning of the future, coming with two prophets. A new people would arrive, the light-skinned race. If they came wearing the face of brotherhood, a mighty nation could be born, blending the best of both worlds. But if they came wearing the face of death, they would bring greed, destruction, and suffering. The two faces would look almost the same. Only time would reveal the truth. So when the ships came over the horizon, they carried both possibilities, hands reaching out, some in genuine friendship, others already weighed down with hidden chains. And it's true, many came with greed, violence, and hunger for the land, but not all. Some came with real respect. Some stayed, lived, and became part of something new. And Champlain himself observed, the French and the Indigenous peoples were not simply trading goods. They were forging bloodlines, building a new nation, not through conquest, but through family, through marriage, through kinship, and a new race of people was being born. A true mighty nation, the fourth fire spoke of. But before it could fully take root, before it could grow on its own terms, governments intervened. The Indian Act and apartheid systems, laws designed to divide, categorize, and destroy the natural union that had begun. So they forced artificial walls between peoples who had already chosen each other. They cast a curse over the land, separating what the sacred fire had begun to unite. And identity itself has been shattered because of this. You have status Indians, non-status Indians, Métis, half-breeds, all these paper words meant to erase living nations. But the fourth fire did not go out. It lives in our bloodlines. It lives in our genealogies, in the memories that refuse to die. And it lives with the nation of the Amikwa and Nipissing allies, Nana, who still walk the road of the fourth fire, who still honor the unity that was once envisioned and lived before it was attacked. The mighty nation of the fourth fire was never truly given a chance, but it is not gone. It lives, it breathes, and it waits for those with eyes clear enough to see it and hands strong enough to rebuild it. So today, as the lines are still drawn, old curses still echo in the courts and councils, and the fourth fire asks, will we keep believing the lie of division, or will we reclaim the living unity our ancestors already began? Because brotherhood and sisterhood was never a dream, it was real. It still is. And the fourth fire smolders beneath those ashes, and it's waiting. The fifth fire, as was said in the video, with a warning wrapped inside a temptation. the people would face a great struggle. A promise of salvation would come, offering wealth, security, and a new way of life. But if they abandoned the old ways for the false promise, their suffering would not end. It would stretch for generations, nearly breaking them. So you envision, after centuries of movement, survival, resilience, your people stand at a crossroads, and then a hand is offered, not with a weapon this time, but with contracts, with gifts, with schools, with new religions. A promise: join us, learn our ways, trade your drum for a book, your bundle for a cross, forget who you were, we'll show you a better life. And it didn't come with the crack of muskets necessarily. It came with smiles, and it was poison. The boarding schools came. The languages were banned. The sacred fires were stomped out under leather boots. Children's braids were cut. Their songs were silenced. Tiny moccasins were left abandoned in the dust. And the false promise was clear. Trade your identity for survival. Trade your spirit for their salvation. But it was a lie. And instead of salvation, it brought devastation. Instead of riches, it brought dependency. Instead of peace, it brought grief that echoed through generations. And for the Amikwa, the people of the Beaver, the caretakers, the givers of life, the creators of life, this was a time of being deliberately written out of existence. Not because they vanished, not because they failed, but because they refused to surrender. They refused to let go of memory, even when it was punished. They hid their ceremonies where no priest could find them. They whispered their names to their children and no one else was listening. They built their lives again and again by rivers and lakes the government tried to forget. And the Amikwa are not survivors of the fifth fire. They're the resistors of it. And the false promise, it's still here. It's just dressed differently now. It's hidden in economic development, consultations, and endless apologies that never change the ground under our feet. The fifth fire burns hotter than ever, and it asks us a brutal living question. Will you trade sacred memory for comfort? Will you abandon your spirit because the path is hard? Or will you do what the Amikwa did, what the ancestors did, and carry the fire through the ashes? The sacred shell, it still awaits, and the ancestors are still watching. And the test of the fifth fire is still before us, so we have to choose. The sixth fire came with a grim vision. It would be clear that the false promise of the fifth fire had led the people astray. Children would be taken from their families, grandchildren would turn on the elders, the balance of life would be broken, and a deep sorrow would fall across the land. And if you imagine this, the old songs falling silent, the sacred fires are forbidden, children taken from their homes, their names stripped away, their hair cut to erase their memory of who they were. The sixth fire wasn't a battle you could see on a field. It was a battle inside hearts and homes. It was a war against memory, a war against spirit. And the residential schools opened their doors, and behind them, a darkness that tried to swallow 1,000 generations of knowledge. The grandmothers sat alone with their stories unspoken. The grandfathers, ceremonies gathered. It all turned to dust. The language that once filled the forests and rivers were nearly silenced, and sickness spread, not just through bodies, but through spirits. Addiction, despair, hopelessness. The people who had lived in balance with the land were now pushed into its margins, and yet not everything was lost. Because for the Amikwa, the keepers of the water, the builders of life, the sixth fire burned just as fiercely. Colonial governments declared them extinct on paper, but the Amikwa never accepted that erasure. The stories, their bloodlines, the spirit moved underground, held in families, held in memory, held in quiet, stubborn survival of those who just refused to forget. Even when the world called them gone, they were still there, living by the rivers, teaching their children the old ways and whispers, keeping the sacred shell alive inside their hearts. And the sixth fire tried to bury them, but it couldn't destroy what was carried in blood and spirit. And so we can bring this back to today. And the difference between silence and surrender, the people were silenced, but they did not surrender. The sacred shell was never truly lost. It was hidden, protected, passed hand to hand, generation to generation, waiting for a time when it could be carried openly again. And today, every word of language reclaimed, every drum sounded, every ceremony revived, is a sign that that fire never died. It simply waited. And the sixth fire reminds us, in the longest night, the flame doesn't vanish. It smolders, it waits, it calls. And it's calling now, louder than ever. And to bring this all together, it all comes to the seventh fire. And the seventh prophet, when he came full of both hope and warning, the new generation would arise. They would retrace the steps of their ancestors, seeking what was left by the trail, the breadcrumbs, the little nuances in history that you read between the lines. We would turn to our elders for guidance, but many elders would be sleeping, they would be afraid, or they'd be silent. And the task of the new people would be difficult. But if they remained strong, the drum would sound again, and the Anishinaabe Nation would be reborn, and the light skin race too would be offered the choice, two roads. If they choose the right road, an eighth fire would be lit, a fire of peace, love, and brotherhood and renewal. If they choose the wrong road, destruction and suffering would return. And if you imagine this, you are born into a world of broken treaties, poisoned rivers, forgotten language. You inherit ashes, not riches, and yet somewhere beneath the surface, the old trails are still there. The songs are still there. The teachings are still there, waiting. And the new people are not defined by blood alone. They are defined by a choice to pick up what was left behind, to listen to the old voices, to step carefully, humbly, back onto the trail their ancestors once walked. But the seventh fire does not promise that this will be easy. When the new people turn to the elders, many will be silent, some will have been forgotten, some will be afraid to speak. So the new people must find patience, courage, and wisdom to draw out the teachings that will survive. The journey will not be handed to them, they will have to fight for it. And the Amikwa is placed in this. The Amikwa carry the seventh fire within their blood and bones. They are living descendants of those who chose movement over destruction, memory over erasure. And today, the Amikwa resurgence grows through ceremony, land protection, governance, and the simple, powerful act of refusing to disappear. They fulfill the prophecy of the new people. They are walking back along the old trails, gathering the broken pieces, weaving together what the sixth fire tried to destroy. And Nana, the nation of the Amikwa Nipissing allies, is not an invention. It's a living continuation of the mighty nation that the fourth fire saw, but colonial systems tried to prevent. The mighty nation is still possible, not in the ruins of colonial government, but in the bloodlines, the ceremonies, the relationships that have never died. And we can bring this all back to today because the seventh fire offers a choice, not just to Indigenous peoples, but to everyone. Two roads lie ahead. One road, the road of materialism, endless greed, destruction, leads to scorched earth, a broken world, suffering beyond what we've already seen. And the other road, the road of respect, brotherhood, sisterhood, humility, leads the lighting of the eighth fire, a fire of peace, renewal, and life. But here's the truth. No one can walk both roads, and no one can stand still. The choice must be made every day in every action and every word. The seventh fire is not a prophecy of automatic salvation. It's an invitation. It's a test of courage and a call to live with both feet on the earth and both eyes open to the sacredness of life. So I just bring this back with a closing reflection. We are the new people. We are the ones the ancestors prayed for. The ones they dreamed would find the trail again. The sacred shell, it still shines. The water drum, it still awaits. The question is, will the prophecy be fulfilled? Sorry, that's not what the question is. The question is, will we be the kind of people worthy for it? So the fire is lit, the choice is now, and so we stand here today, walking the trail, lit by the seven fires, carrying the sacred shell forward. The path is not easy. It was never meant to be, but it is ours and it is alive. So, in closing, I leave you with this thought: the ancestors are watching, the fire still burns, and the choice to walk in truth, honor, and spirit belongs to all of us. And so, with that, I turn it over to you, Ogama Digigod Bimose, Chief Time Walker, Chief Stacy Amikwabi. Kitchi Miigwech.
Thank you.
Well said, Corey. Well said. You know, so I've come to understand that we're here to celebrate the birthday of my good friend Michael, and I'm honored to participate. Um, just a little backstory of how the relationship forms with what we call Mr. S, as Corey said, and why that we call him Mr. S is because he's spent much time in a court setting, and the name Swinwood has been fired at him countless times. So he uh, he doesn't appreciate when you refer to him that way. He prefers Michael, but I've coined him as Mr. S. And so if I could send a virtual birthday gift to him, it would be a T-shirt with a big S on the chest because he truly is Superman in the things he's worked on in conjunction with us, the hurdles he's tackled, the words he's assembled to justify why we're taking actions and all the things that it takes to move this along. So truly, Superman he is, and how the relationship forms. It starts for me, the journey of it, when I was 10 years old. I went hunting with my family. I was lost to the hunting party. I found myself in a very desperate situation as a 10-year-old boy without fire in his pocket. I um, survived a night of freezing temperatures, and what helped me survive that was the splashing tail of a beaver on the shoreline. Uh, Upon surviving that night, I found myself uh, to make a decision of an easy path or a difficult path, and I chose an easy path. And from that easy path, I slipped and fell, and I dangled above a frozen lake from a stick. And I had to make a choice, and the choice I made was to carry on. So I did so, and it wasn't long after that I was rescued from that situation. I much later come to learn that hanging from a stick is a traditional ceremonial practice of time walking. So I think it bears significance to what we're doing. The situation, and I recovered from it. My grandfather took note of that experience for me. And at one point, he sat me down in his workshop. And I used to be quite adamant about spending time with my grandfather to help him produce the things he was doing. So he would make crafts like paddles and axe handles and sleighs, and we would engage in fur trade business. So there was skinning of animals and stretching of skins and all these things going on. So I was quite intrigued with it all. So at one point, my grandfather sat me down and he said to me, he says, you know that name we have, Mcquabbie, Mcquabbie. He says, that's not our name. They changed it. I don't know why, but they did. We come from Nipissing. Our name is Amikwa. So the translation of Amikwa, as I come to understand it, is beaver people we are, or thou art, or men. So later on in life, I carried on. I got over that whole situation. I carried on, and I came to be a young man, and I was budding out with my wife for starting a family. And when I started to move away from this community I live in, I live on the French River Indian Reserve in on the Pickerel River, on the shores of Georgian Bay, basically. I came to start to move away from this community, and when I did that, I was granted a vision that caused me to come reeling back here, and I've never left ever since. So during that time, I was, I was laying under my truck one night, staring at my starter, which was ultimately broken. And a phone was handed in under the truck at me, and it was one of the ladies of the community here asking me to participate in the election system under the band council. And so I said, I ain't got time for this. I was quite busy contracting and doing all these other things. And so I said, I don't have time for that kind of thing. Sorry. And so nonetheless, my name was nominated. I was placed on the ballot, and I was elected to the band council. And I went to rescind my name, and the ladies again from the community convinced me. They came to me and said, "We heard you're going to rescind your name. Please don't do that. We'd like for you to go experience it. We think you would do a good job." So I agreed. I said, "Okay, I'll check it out. It's only 2 years." So I went into it, and they made me council of lands. And so at the council table of the legal representative of the band, I asked a very basic question because I had heard all these rumors. And the question was, what's the situation with the land claim? And so it took a few months, and I received a legal opinion. The statement in the legal opinion said, the first line of it, the French River Band is extinct. Caught my attention, caused me to research. And I surmounted as much information as I could. At the time, I tried to piece together what I had available, and I came up with a pretty good synopsis of what was occurring. During that time, when I was working on this, a family member had passed away, my uncle, and my mother was made executor of his estate. And my mother went to the Indian Affairs office to transfer a certificate of possession of in the reserve to my nephew, which was my uncle's passing wishes. So my mother, as executor, went to enact this, and the Indian Affairs Department told her that in order to do that, she needed a long form birth certificate for her brother. And so she went to the Register General and applied for Clifford McQuabbie, McQuabbie birth certificate, and she was denied. With the oral knowledge of our grandfather, she reapplied for Amikwa, ancestral surname, and she received a birth certificate, which caused us to have a bit of an alarm. And so I asked my mother that all transaction be halted until we sort this out. Along the path of trying to identify and understand what that all was meaning, it caused me to do a genealogical work, caused me to dig more into the history of the community, of the reserve, of the treaty, of the uh, region, and then ultimately the continent, and then super ultimately the globe. And so during that research, I came to many realizations and many more questions arose. And so I trudged on to tackle as many as I could fathom. And so during that work that I was engaged in, I came to a realization, and I deduced that we were experiencing a genocidal practice in what was being discovered. And at one point, my mother came to me with a newspaper from the Anishinaabe News. And in that article, it was describing that there was a court case going on in North Bay in a little town called Field. And the mention of the legal representative went by the name of Michael Swinwood. And in the article, it made a peculiar highlight of a sentence that utilized the word genocide. And that got my attention. And I said, I need to go meet this person. Maybe there's a potential for a connection. So I had found that there was going to be meetings held within this town of Field. And so I made my way and I went into the meetings and I sat in the back of the room and I listened to what was occurring. And Michael struck me in his clarity, in his use of words, in the way that he presented the evidence that was before them in the situation they were dealing with. And so I started to engage with Michael in order to bring him into the understanding of the knowledge that I had possessed at that point. And so the birth certificates that I was holding were key to understanding, the basis of why we would form a legal perspective. And so we moved with this, and at one point I had to convince Michael that he needed to sit down and hear me out, which is is quite an undertaking because it encompassed, like, for the discussion we had at one point, it was a continuous chat of 60 hours in order to bring the knowledge that it takes to even to shed a light on the conundrum I was dealing with. And from that point forward, Michael recognized the legitimacy and the truthfulness of what I was presenting. And the teachings that Michael had encountered or encapsulated up to that point had helped him to shape his worldview, to understand that there was work to be done. And so we took the cauldron, the boiling pot of all of this material, all of this knowledge, all of these things that we were describing as the truth. It allowed us to form the alphabet soup, so to speak, that we require to move forward with trying to address some of the injustice, some of the problems of the contemporary reality. And so we tackled this head on because we have the factual evidence to describe it. We have the oral understanding. We have the traditional perspective. We have a lot of the pieces of the grand puzzle that it takes in order to form the image of what it looks like. So great respect to Michael for being able to take all of those puzzle pieces and assemble them in correct order in order to help others understand what it is what we're undertaking. So the situation, has transgressed into a position. So we've managed to create a position, and that position is founded through establishing legal forces and forming standing. So, we describe not only our legitimacy with the factual evidence of the past that we can produce, but also to demonstrate the legal force and the standing it requires in order to wield that legitimacy. So it becomes very involved. And, the realizations that, one person or two person can establish the knowledge, but the action it takes to make a difference, to make a change, involves many people. So that's the struggle we've been wrestling with all this time, is how to engage many people in order to give them the knowledge it requires to assist them in managing their freedom. So the management of the freedom of the people is difficult when there are many forces that seek to usurp and uh, undo that idea. We have a condition on the planet that was informed by uh, vices of slavery. And so the enslavement of a great many people has occurred. And so we are dealing with different levels of consciousness, different levels of knowledge. And so it's a struggle to get on the same page, so to speak, in when we're dealing with many people. Nonetheless, it doesn't detract from the truthfulness of the undertaking. It allows us uh, to take action and to demonstrate and something I've learned along the way is that many people appreciate leaders by example. So that's what we propose to undertake is to lead by example. And so we've set quite a number of examples that are profound and substantial. And so with that, we come to share. And sharing is the ultimate act of kindness that could uh, invoke change. So we do this prolifically. Um, I'd like to, continue on with here. So we have a situation of a usurpation that comes through uh, renaming practices in order to create hurdles or dead ends or whatever for people that are searching for truth. And, it's a sad day in the universe when the truth is viewed as some sort of obstacle or some sort of detraction. And, I was just recently having a discussion about weighing the scales of justice on the truth on one of the scales and peace on the other. And so it's a difficult balance to form because inconvenient truths are often shoved under very thick carpets, and the atmosphere, the language that produces for people is not very healthy. So I describe it as the language of others versus the language of savages. So within the language of others, the legal maxim described within it is that one cannot speak of the self without unilaterally acknowledging the other. And so that's what we promote here is the language of others. And so with that, we strive and we struggle to wrestle against the language of savagery. And the language of savagery is prolific throughout the world. It was a contributing factor to what we refer to as civilized societies. And the civilized society that we're interacting with is a very ancient, very old way of forming principles of divide and conquer. And so we have a very long, very detailed record of uh, the formation of this language. And from that, we can find pieces of our own salvation within it because uh, we can highlight sections of it, the important bits and pieces of it that help to understand the difference. And so, I describe it as a staircase where, there's different levels, different points along the way, the journey up or down the staircase. And so down the staircase, is this misunderstanding and degradation into the pits of wherever this basement of this thing is. and then to rise into the heights of the knowledge. And so each step is one step closer to either end. And so we chose enlightenment and knowledge as our principle of ascending the staircase. And to the passerby that are idly standing on the staircase or are descending the staircase or trying to climb the staircase themselves, we engage all the and recognize all of those that are ascending or descending. And so from that, we can position ourselves along it. And we haven't made it to the bottom and we haven't made it to the top. We're somewhere intermediary along that procession. So the situation of how we engage this, how we've encompassed, through the journey, and my relationship with Mr. S has been profound and substantial because of the places it's taken us, the experiences we've had from it, the knowledge we've garnered, the mistakes that have been made and have been learned from. It's all quite very interesting and universal. And the subject matter is of something that is so substantial to learning, to understanding that we've embraced it both feet in the muck, so to speak. And I'm glad for doing it. So with that, I'll just set it there for now, and we'll allow more conversation to continue. And if there's any questions, we'll come back to it. Amikwa.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Chief Amikwa. That was amazing. Enlightenment and knowledge, that's what we're all about here as well. And I love the fact that you have described the journey you've been on legally with Michael and as friends as well. But most importantly, moving this Amikwa Nation forward as a reality may be the key to the future, really, of our world. What I'd like to do, if it's okay with everyone, is we're going to complete basically part one of this recording session now. Sue will do the mantra of unification. That will allow us to sort of end the part one of our program today. Then after that, anyone who would like to stay, please do. I'll be recording a second part here with Chief Amikwabi and Corey Pierce, and then you can feel free to ask questions and discuss as you'd like to. Does that work for you, Corey?
Yes, I just wanted to mention too. For Stacy, I do have ready here the Vermont map, plate 35. I have the 1701 peace treaty as well as the Cornelli and a few other interesting documents. So if to answer questions, and for Stacy, it's interesting to hear Stacy's commentary on this. You can riff on it for quite a while. So that'll be available, and I'm happy to spend some additional time here.
Thank you, Corey. And we posted the website of the Nation of the Amikwa and Nipissing Allies, and also the publication that Corey mentioned earlier, and the video that we played with Grandfather Commanda. So those are all in the chat. Please feel free to grab them. So now what I'm going to do is, as we mentioned, just wrap up part one of our discussion here. And Susan Hagar, one of our facilitators, also a founder of the Soul School Network with Michael Swinwood, or Mr. S, is going to read the mantra of unification. I'll just post it here on the screen for everyone to see. There we go.
Thank you, Greg. And before I do that, I just want to personally thank you very much, Stacy, for your presentation today and for the conversation that will continue. And close your eyes. I invite you to close your eyes, lower your gaze if you wish, and I will say the prayer. The mantra of unification. The souls of all are one, and I am one with them. I seek to love, not hate. I seek to serve and not exact due service. I seek to heal, not hurt. Let pain bring due reward of light and love. Let the soul control the outer form and life and all events, and bring to light the love which underlies the happenings of the time. Let vision come and insight. Let the future stand revealed. Let inner union demonstrate and outer cleavages be gone. Let love prevail. Let all people love. Miigwech. Namaste. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Sue. That's wonderful. And so, as I mentioned, we're going to wrap things up here. We're back in 2 weeks with a basically an open mic session here, free for all, to talk about things that our members and visitors want to share. So I hope we get to see you in a couple of weeks. You can visit our website, soulschoolnetwork.com, and we're also on YouTube. And that's the end of part 1 of our program. I'll just stop the recording here, and we'll be back for part 2.